October 11th, 2012. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 3 of You Can Bet on That. Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. I'm Mark Duvall. Once again, I'm joined by Dr. Mike.
Hello.
Let's get right to it. Just a little bit of news, some more TV alerts to let you know about. Once again, on Destination America, they're going to be having a gambling marathon, a 6-hour marathon of gambling shows. This is going to be on Wednesday, October 17th at noon Eastern Time. 6 different shows. Here's the lineup. Las Vegas, Building a Desert of Dreams. Las Vegas, Beyond the Strip. Top 10 Las Vegas casinos. Top 10 ways to win in Vegas. Las Vegas, Place to Get Lucky. And Las Vegas, Follow the Money. So these shows are old. I think they're like more than 10 years old. And again, the only reason I mention it is just because it's a big block of gambling on TV.
I'd like to watch that Place to Get Lucky, see what that's about.
See if it's true.
It's true.
Yeah, is it true? It's funny here. This is our 3rd episode, and each week we've had TV alerts from Destination America, which is like some obscure cable channel that nobody even has heard of, right?
And they're big on Vegas.
That's our big thing. It's like the new gambling channel. Your brother works in TV. Remember about
Game Show Network?
No, it wasn't called Game Show Network, but it was something
Casino Gaming Network.
I can't remember. It was about 10 years ago. Yeah. He told us about it was going to be a new channel,
right? Devoted entirely to gambling.
Yeah, and it was about the time of the poker boom, I think. Right. So they thought, okay, they were going to have like poker shows, but then it was going to be more. But it never
materialized. Yeah, I should ask him whatever happened to that.
What was the name of that? I can't remember. But it was something like that. Game TV or
it was something. Yeah.
They had a website for a while. That was great.
Well, I got a suitcase with their logo on it.
That's right.
That my brother gave me. That's some promo thing.
And I think you gave me like a deck of cards.
Cards, right? Yeah.
Well, anyway.
It may have never materialized.
All right, next time, folks, we'll look up and see what this channel is that never got off the. It was like Canadian or something, wasn't it?
Because it was something to do. I believe you're right with Canadian TV.
Yeah, because like Joe Flaherty was going to be on. He was going to reprise one of his SCTV characters.
Yeah.
All right,
we'll find out.
Anyway, the marathon on Destination America once again it's 6 hours long, 12 noon on Wednesday, October 17th. All right, so this episode we thought we would talk about the field bet in craps. It is a bet that's very prominent on the table. When you walk up to the table, you see it's a very large area of the table. Mm-hmm. It says field, and there are the numbers 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Are printed out on the field. And it's a very simple bet. When you place money in the field, if any one of those numbers come up on the next roll, you win. And if one of those numbers doesn't come up, you lose.
Yeah. Very
straightforward. If the number is 2 or 12, typically, well, let me put it this way. It's even money for the numbers 3, 4, 9, 10, and 11. You just get paid even money. If 2 or 12 comes up, typically you get paid double by most casinos. I don't know of any casino that pays even money on the 2 or 12. It's at least double.
It's at least
2
double,
and 12.
Yeah.
And in most casinos, one or the other, 2 or 12, pays triple. So typically what you'll see is the 2 will pay double, the 12 will pay triple, and everything else pays even money. That's pretty consistent.
Yeah.
It is you put your money out there and collect it. It's a bet at the table that you control. In other words, you don't have to give any money to the dealer. You just put it out there. It's a very big area, so a lot of people can make the bet.
Single roll bet too. It's important.
Right. It's a single. Right. You will lose or win on the next roll, regardless. Now, we don't play the field typically, and we generally
not typically never. Never play the field.
The only time I do it is if like my mom is with me on some trip who says, Mark, will you put like $25? Here's $25. Make a bet for me. And I say, okay, this is simple enough. It's like here you go, $20, $25 a field. It's real simple. Boom, you're going to win it right away. Right. Yeah, it's over real quick, win or lose. But here's why we don't play it. Number one, it doesn't really kind of move with the flow of a craps game. We talked about craps in our first episode a little bit. And one of the things when you're playing is that if you're in the middle of a roll or a hot roll, the number you don't want to see is 7. And virtually any other number is okay. You may not win when any other number comes up, but you won't lose. Typically, 7 is the loser and nothing else matters. Right. But in the field, there are numbers that will lose for you. Specifically, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 4 of the most common rolls on the dice.
Exactly.
And so it doesn't really go with the flow. So, it's like, I'll put money out on the field. Oh, 6 comes up. Oh, everybody else at the table, maybe they've bet on 6, but they don't lose. Well, you lose because you bet on the field. Another reason we don't bet in the field is that the house edge is pretty high for it. If the rules are at your table pay double on the 2 and 12, it's a 5.56% house advantage. Now, what does that mean? 5.56% house advantage. That means that in the long run, for every dollar that you bet in the field, you're going to lose about 5.5 cents over the long run. Even if the table rules pay, say, double on the 2 and triple on the 12, it's still a 2.78% house advantage. And that might not seem like a lot, but compared to some of the other bets at the craps table, which are just over 1%, it's
right.
Significant. Yeah. So, why have we even brought up the field if we don't like playing it and we suggest you don't play it? Well, here's why. Number one, for a novice craps player, it is a very simple bet to make. Easy to make, easy to understand. Probably the easiest bet at the table to understand.
Exactly.
And you can, bet the table minimum and win or lose on every roll. The other reason we wanted to talk about it, and I find this very interesting, there is a casino in New Mexico called the Santa Ana Star Casino. And on their craps tables, they pay triple on the 2 and the 12. The result of which is the house advantage is 0. So theoretically, again, in the long run, theoretically, you could bet the field at the Santa Ana Star Casino your whole life and break even.
If you have a big enough bankroll.
Right. Yeah, if you want to get into theory of math and what have you, eventually the house will eat up your bankroll because they've got more money than you do. But I think this is great. I don't know why more casinos don't have gimmicks like this.
Oh, that's a wonderful gimmick. I mean, they would start getting field bets from players who, like us, who never play the field.
Sure.
They would get a field bet, and in the long run, they would win money.
Yeah, and exactly. And it's not like, I would like to know, if anybody out there has been to the Santa Ana Star Casino and played craps, let us know, because I'd like to know, how many people are betting the field versus other bets. I'm sure people are still making all the other bets on the craps table, good and bad, right? And the house isn't losing money on the field, right? But it might get people. Can you imagine if there were a casino in Las Vegas that offered this? I think, knowledgeable craps table players would go to that casino.
Sure. You know how confusing that would be with, say, 7 people on a site all putting out their field bets and then trying to figure out when the dice hit them whose money was what.
Well, see, that's the player's responsibility, right? The field, the dealer doesn't deal with it. They don't care where the bet is in there. Right. It's not so the dealer doesn't care.
And that's another funny thing when people play the field. They'll tend to put their money somewhere special, like right on the 2 or right on the 9, or they have some area that they like.
Right.
It's not the one right in front of them that's easiest to reach. It's somewhere that feels lucky. You see that all the time.
And that's a good point. People who aren't familiar with the field, sometimes if they don't ask and they don't know, they think they need to put the money right on top of the 9, and they'll only win if a 9
comes up. Right, exactly.
That's a good point. If you play the field, Just put the bet close, put it in the field.
Easiest to reach.
The closest to you, so it's the easiest to get to. Exactly. All right, let's move on. So if you are new to gambling, or let me put it this way, a new gambler, somebody who's just started playing casino games or learns how to play blackjack, is probably trying to think, how can I beat the house? What system can I come up with that's, guaranteed to beat the house in blackjack or roulette? And one of the first things, an idea that a new gambler might get is, well, you know what? If I lose my bet, how about just on my next bet, I just double it, and then that'll make up for the previous loss, plus I'll win a little bit. And if I lose that bet, well, the next time I'll just double it. And I'll just continue to double it until I win, right? Because eventually I'm going to win, right?
Right. Oh, sure. How could you keep losing?
That's right.
Could never happen.
So, for example, you could go up to the blackjack table and you bet $5. If that loses, okay, on the next bet, I'll just bet $10, right? And so if I win that, not only have I won the $5 that I've just lost, but I've won an additional $5. And then if that bet loses, now I've lost $15 total, so I'll just make $20 on the next bet.
Right.
And if I win that, I'll make up the $15 I've lost plus another $5. Well, this betting strategy is nothing new. It is called the Martingale System. And I like to call it the road to ruin, because even though it sounds like a great idea, there are two problems with it. Number one, you don't have an unlimited bankroll. And number two, the house generally has an upper limit on how much you can bet.
And that's why they have it.
Yeah. And it might be hard to believe, but really bad streaks happen a lot more than you would think.
Right.
And I'll give you an example. This was years ago at the old Dunes Casino in Las Vegas. And I stepped up to the blackjack table and I bought in for $50. And I wasn't playing the Martingale system. I wasn't, doubling my bet. But I cashed in for $50 at a $5 table. And I bet $5 every hand, and I lost 10 hands in a row. And, the dealer was looking at me like, oh, I'm so sorry. But, it was 10 hands in a row.
Right.
And if I had been betting the Martingale system, for my 11th bet, if I'd been doubling every time and gone all the way up, for that 11th bet, I would have had to make a $5,120 bet, right? Having lost about that much already, too.
Right.
So, I'd be like in for $10,000. So, first of all...
And you're a $5 bettor.
And I'm a $5 bettor, right? That's the thing. So I would have had to have a $10,000 bankroll. There's no guarantee I'm going to win that 11th hand.
Right.
And the problem, again, we talk about table limits. Typically, at a $5 blackjack table, the upper limit might be $500.
Right.
But even if it were...
A couple thousand probably the most you would see.
Right, exactly. So I wouldn't even have been able to make,
right.
A bet that big. So bottom line, again, this is called the Martingale System. You can research it if you like, but it will eventually catch up with you. You could actually, go to a casino and do fine with it, for one trip.
Sure.
Because chances are, sure, you're not going to hit that run. But
the thing I always remember is our good friend Ken, years ago, who on roulette decided that he would just bet red and that he would just double his bet every time. And after he had lost, it was quite a few, 7 or 8 black had come up in a row. He doubled it up and said, what are the chances that that black's gonna come up again, for the 8th time in a row? And sure enough, 13 black,
Exactly. Yep. And that's that whole bad reasoning of what are the chances of black coming up again. That's another concept called the gambler's fallacy, where you're thinking that past events have some kind of influence on future events, like a roulette wheel, where, every event is independent of every other, right? So,
and same with craps.
Yep.
And same with the deal of the blackjack cards.
That's right. Well, blackjack's a little different because...
in a deck. But on a second, by the time you're on the second deck...
Sure.
If you're talking about your 10 hands, if you were at a single deck table, you probably played 3 decks, maybe.
Yeah, probably something like
Probably
that.
get 2 or 3 hands out of a deck.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, on independent events like craps, like a roulette wheel, the odds are the same every single time. Anyway, avoid the Martingale system. All right, we want to talk about 3-card poker, which is a table game that you'll find in a casino. In fact, I would venture to say, what do you think about this? If I were going to say the most popular table card casino games, blackjack, of course, number 1. Maybe Pai Gow poker.
No, 3-card poker.
You think so?
Oh yeah, they have it. They have 3-card poker on the cruise ships. They don't have Pai Gow.
Really?
And they don't have some of the other goofy games. They have a lot of blackjack tables, but they always have 1 or 2 3-card.
So you think maybe 3-card poker is like the number 2?
Yeah, because it's poker, number 1.
Yeah.
And people are kind of into poker. And also, it's not that hard to play. Pai Gow takes a little more.
I guess so, sure. You're right. There's a decision in Pai Gow, and there's really no decision
in 3-card poker.
3-card poker other than when you're
making your bet.
Right, yeah. So. Yeah. Well, let's talk about 3-card poker and how it works. First of all, for those of you who are familiar with regular 5-card poker, the hand rankings in 3-card poker are a little different. The best hand is a straight flush. That's 3 cards in sequence, all the same suit. So like 10 Jack Queen of hearts would be a straight flush. 3 of a kind is the next best hand. Then a straight is the next best hand, and then a flush. So that's reversed from typical 5-card poker. A straight beats a flush in 3-card poker. Next down is a pair, is the next best hand. And finally, just high card. So again, very similar to 5-card poker rankings with the straight and the flush interchange. Just like blackjack, you're playing against the dealer. It is not a game where you're playing against the other other players at the table. There are 3 different bets that you can make. Well, technically 4 different bets you can make. We're going to talk about the ante-bet first, which is kind of the main bet. In
the one you have to make.
I read somewhere where some places will let you make the ante-bet or the pair plus bet.
Oh, really?
But I think you're right. In most places, you have to make an ante-bet. So we'll talk about the ante-bet first. So you put your money on the ante-bet, and the dealer will deal out the cards. He'll deal 3 cards to you and 3 cards to himself. You will look at your hand, decide if you think it's good enough to beat the dealer's hand, and if you decide you want to continue to play, you make an additional bet in the play circle. Right by the ante-bet is another little circle that says play. And you'll make that bet in the same amount that you put in the ante-bet. So if you had $5 in the ante and you decide you want to play, you put $5 in the play circle, and play will continue. If you choose to not play because you think your hand is not good enough, you simply fold, you throw in your cards, and you lose your ante-bet, and the game is basically over for you. All right. If you've decided to play, the dealer turns over his hand. If he has a queen high or better, that is said, the dealer qualifies in that case, right? Queen high or better. If he does not have queen high or better, if he has something lower than that, he does not qualify. So let's talk about that first. If he does not qualify, you will win your ante-bet, just even money, and the play bet pushes. You played this more, so correct me if
You're correct.
Mess up here. Yeah. So this is, again, if the dealer doesn't qualify.
Right.
Even if for some reason...
Doesn't matter what you have.
It has you could have stayed in with a terrible hand.
Right.
But if he doesn't qualify, you automatically win that ante-bet, and the play bet pushes. Mm-hmm. Okay. If the dealer does qualify, again, with a queen high or better, if your hand beats his, the ante and the play bet both win even money.
Even money, correct.
If he beats you, his hand is better than yours, then you lose both bets.
Both bets. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
And if you have the same exact hand, which can happen, then it's a push.
It's a push.
Both of them are a tie. Now, there's one more aspect to the ante-bet. If you have a straight or better, you will get paid an additional amount of money, no matter what the dealer has. And whether he qualified or not, whether he beat you or not.
Correct.
Right? Okay. So typically the payouts for that are if you have a straight, you'll get an additional even money for your anti-bet. So I know it's kind of confusing, but let's say that you decided to play and you beat the dealer and you have a straight. First, you'd get paid even money on the play and anti-bet, and then you'd get an additional even money for the anti-bet.
Correct.
Right. Okay. If you have three of a kind, same situation where you'd beat the dealer, again, you'd get paid even money on the anti-bet and the play bet, and then you'd get 4-1 against the anti-bet for the three of a kind that you have.
Right.
And finally, if you have a straight flush, you'll get paid 5-1. Now, I think those are pretty standard payouts. I think some casinos, maybe it's like 4-1 on a straight flush. And
no, I haven't seen much difference. That's usually what it is.
Yeah. Okay, all right. But again, this anti-bonus gets paid regardless of the dealer's. So let's say, for example, you have a straight and the dealer has three of a kind. You're going to lose your play bet. You're going to lose your anti-bet. But you're still going to get paid even money. The anti-bonus. Okay.
Right.
All
yeah.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can still win on the hand. You can still come out ahead.
Well, if you get like three of a kind or more. A straight you'd still lose, but
you three of a kind.
So potentially, even though...
If you had three of a kind and say the dealer had a higher three of a kind.
Or a straight flush.
Pretty
flush. Unlikely, but it could happen, sure.
Yeah. Then you would actually lose two bets, but win the bonus bet and get paid 4-1, so you'd actually make money.
Yeah, okay. All right, so that's an explanation of the anti-bet. Now, when should you fold and when should you play? And this is very easily determined by math and computer runs of the game. And it turns out that the basic strategy for this game, and whenever we talk basic strategy about any game, that basically means this is the best way to play it based on the math. The basic strategy for three-card poker is if you have queen, 6, 4, or better, you should play. And if you have anything lower than that, you should fold. Right? And for the payouts that the anti-bonus payouts that we just recently talked about, the house edge is a little over 2% if you play basic strategy. So again, that means for every dollar that you bet, you're going to lose about 2 cents.
2 cents.
Right. Anything else about the ante that I missed?
Nope, I think you got it.
Okay. There are a couple other bets that you can make at the three-card poker table, too, that are pretty straightforward. So we'll talk about them. It's a bet called the pair plus bet. You do not have to make the bet, but you can. And this is a very simple bet. You put money out there. If you are dealt a pair or better, you're going to win this bet. Regardless of how the hand plays out, regardless of whether the dealer beats you, qualifies, it's completely independent of anything else that goes on in the game.
Correct.
Right? So if you get a pair or better, you're going to win. And you get paid better odds depending on how good your hand is. A typical payout table for the pair plus bet is you get even money if you have a pair. You get 4-1 for a flush, 5-1 for a straight, 30-1 for three of a kind, and 40-1 for a straight flush. And those pay tables can really vary depending on the casino that you're at. A very simple bet, the house edge can be as low as around 2.5%, all the way up to 5% or worse, depending on that pay table.
Now, what is the amount that you can bet on the pair plus bet as opposed to your ante? Does it have to be the same as your ante? Can it be less?
My understanding is that it can be different from the ante bet. So you can bet different amounts. You could even bet more in the pair plus than you can in ante. Now that's going to depend on the casino.
Right. Some of them will let you bet more. Well, I haven't run across one that won't let you bet more, but I have had ones where you have to bet at least what you bet on the ante.
At least, really?
Yeah.
You'd think it'd be the other way around. That you could bet less in the pair plus if you want.
You would think.
Yeah.
But because they have an edge, they don't want you to put a $5 bet, I think, on the ante, right? Which may be the table minimum, and then put $1. So it's not like craps, for instance, where the minimum bet's $5. You can put 5 on the line, but you can make $1 hardway bet or something.
Right. Okay.
So,
but
at least that I know of.
It's going to depend on the casino, of course. They're going to have their own different rules. But that's interesting that you can bet at least as much and more, but not less than your ante bet.
Because I've tried that before, and I want to say it was like at at Wynn or somewhere, and they wouldn't let you make a smaller bet.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Anyway, the pair plus bet, independent of the ante bet, and it pays out depending on what you're dealt. There's one more bet that most 3-card poker tables have also, called the 6-card bonus bet. And I think the maximum on that is quite lower than the. Can you is it only $1 or $5? Or?
Well, the minimum's $1. I know out in the local casinos here, and then the maximum will go up to like $25.
Okay, but you can bet $1, so you can bet certainly
that
less
one.
than
You
the
can
table
actually
minimum.
bet less than your table minimum.
And I think when I see people betting it, it's typically $1.
Yeah, they'll throw $1 out there,
just $1 or something.
Yeah, my dad bets $5 every time.
Yeah,
every time.
Yeah. So the way it's called the 6-card bonus bet. And the way that it works is when you make the bet, you take a look at your 3 cards and the dealer's 3 cards. 6 cards in total. And you find the best 5-card poker hand. Right? So it's different from 3-card poker. You find the best 5-card poker hand from the 6 cards comprised of your 3 and the dealer's 3. And if you get 3 of a kind or better, you'll get paid on that bet. And this bet can pay pretty handsomely depending on what you get. One pay table that I have shows 3 of a kind being paid at 5 to 1, a straight at 10 to 1, a flush at 20 to 1, full house 25 to 1, 4 of a kind 50 to 1, straight flush 200 to 1, and a royal flush 1,000 to 1. So you can see that if you're lucky enough to hit that, just even on $5. Didn't your dad, when we were in Vegas last time, did he hit a straight flush? Or what was it? He hit something that was pretty good. I want to say it was a straight
flush. I believe it was. Yeah.
So 200 to 1, that was it. He had a $5 bet.
He had a $5 bet. You're right, and he got $1,000.
$1,000, and that he was kind of lamenting the fact that things were not going well for him, and then suddenly he hit that.
Right, he hit the straight flush. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why he plays the game. That's why it's his favorite game.
Right.
Because there's that potential of nothing that you've done to make a good hand with the dealer and get a big payout.
Right. And again, on this 6-card bonus bet, typically it's a fairly high house edge depending on the pay table that you find. It can be in the high 2% all the way up to like 6%. And it can eat away with you. Since we're talking about 3-card poker, typically that's what keeps you in the game though, is when you hit these big hands.
Right.
Like your dad, for example, right? He's losing, and then suddenly he gets one big hand and he's all the way back and he can play some more.
Right. And that's the draw. That's why people play it.
Yeah. So if you're sitting at a table for a long time and, you don't hit a straight or better for like an hour, it's just going to eat you alive, right? You really need to hit, a straight every once in a while, a flush, something to not just to beat the dealer, but to pay off on this pair plus and this 6-card bonus bet too. Caesars properties have additional payouts on this 6-card bonus. If you get what's called a super royal flush, that's 9, 10, jack, queen, king, ace, all the same suit, you get paid $100,000. And if they're all diamonds, you get paid $1 million. And I saw recently just at Harrah's Las Vegas, a woman won $100,000. And, the million's paid off a few times. So,
has it really?
Yeah.
A few times.
But think about how hard that is, right? Oh. Between you and the dealer, you have 6 cards in a row, 9 through ace, all the same suit.
Well, chances are you could play this game exclusively your whole life and never see that happen, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But, it's there. You're not going to win $1 million on a single bet at the blackjack table or at the craps table, right? So, it's there.
Well, what would be bad, and the casino knows this, it goes to the gambler's mentality, if you will. What if it hit and you didn't have that bet?
Oh, my gosh, you're right.
Right. Yeah. And you would have won $1 million if you'd just thrown a buck out there.
Right.
So you don't... So... In your mind, you're always, I got to throw at least $1 every time.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, you're almost compelled to. And, it's just free money for the casino.
Oh, yeah, it's great. It's a good concept. That's why they keep building the big hotels.
Right, somebody up there's really thinking this thing through.
Yeah. All right, so that's 3-card poker. And that's going to do it for this episode. Please visit our website at youcanbetonthat.com, where you can check out our show notes and leave comments. Also follow us on Twitter at youcanbetonthat. And please email us with questions and comments at youcanbetonthat@gmail.com. Mike, anything else?
No, but I do want to make a note that people email us. We'd love to answer questions.
Oh, yeah. So. We want to get some good questions here on the show. Not stuff like, how come you guys are such idiots?
Yeah.
But
not the obvious. We want something we have to think about.
Everyone knows the answer to that, right? We don't need to answer that for you. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.
See you later.